Ethan Cole had seen many strange things during his time on planet Trellin 4, but nothing prepared him for what he found beneath the ice caves. The ground trembled slightly under his boots as he followed the faint signal deeper into the frozen tunnel. His breath clouded the visor of his helmet, and the sharp crystals hanging above glowed faint blue under his flashlight. The rest of the research team stayed behind at the surface, except for Dr. Lee, who followed closely. Tapping on her datapad, "Are you sure this isn't just another energy pocket?" she asked, her voice echoing softly. Ethan didn't answer. He didn't know why, but something inside told him this was different. Something old, something alive. At the end of the tunnel, the ice opened into a wide cavern, hidden for what looked like thousands of years. The walls were covered with ancient markings, circular patterns that pulsed faintly with light, and in the center of the room, surrounded by strange, root-like structures, were eggs, dozens of them. Each egg was about the size of a small child, glowing softly from within, their surfaces semi-transparent. Shapes moved inside them, slowly, like something sleeping waiting. Ethan stepped closer, drawn to one in particular. It was different. A silver crack ran down its side, and the shape inside twitched. Then it moved. The egg split with a soft hiss, and a strange, slimy steam escaped into the air. Dr. Lee stepped back, but Ethan stood still, staring. A thin, pale blue hand reached out of the shell, followed by the form of a female creature. She was humanoid, tall and slender, with glowing white eyes and long tendrils of soft, silken hair that shimmered like moonlight. Her skin sparkled under the cave light. Like snow under a full moon, she looked at Ethan straight into his eyes. Not at the walls, not at the cave, not at Dr. Lee, only him. Then, slowly, she stepped forward, her body weak but graceful, and placed her hand on Ethan's chest. Her fingers sizzled lightly against his thermal suit, as if they recognized something beneath it. Then she spoke only one word. "Mine." Dr. Lee froze. What did she just say? "I think she claimed me," Ethan said softly, unable to move. The alien girl didn't speak again, but she leaned against him like a child finding her parent after a long time, as if she had been waiting for him. The silence was broken as another egg began to crack. Then another. But none of the other hatching aliens moved toward Ethan. They stumbled out, blinking and lost. Looking around with confusion, only the first one had purpose, had chosen. Ethan gently placed a hand on her back. Her skin felt warm, alive, and the moment he touched her, a soft pulse shot through his palm. His mind flooded with flashes, images of stars, strange skies, and symbols that made no sense. His knees buckled, and he caught himself before falling. "Ethan, what's happening?" Dr. Lee rushed to him. I don't know," he muttered, rubbing his head. The alien girl hissed at Dr. Lee, protectively placing herself between them. "Easy," Ethan said calmly. "She's just trying to help." But the girl didn't back down, her eyes glowing brighter as she wrapped both arms around him. Minutes later, the rescue team arrived with gear and weapons. They surrounded the chamber with lights and scanners. The other hatchlings were weak and needed help, but none had imprinted like the first. One soldier tried to separate Ethan from the alien girl, but she screamed a sound that echoed like 100 voices from another world. She grabbed Ethan tighter, and strange glowing marks began forming on his chest, under his suit. "What are those?" "Tattoos," someone asked. "No," whispered Dr. Lee, checking her scanner. "They weren't there before." Back at base camp, the team tried to analyze the situation. The alien female refused to be separated from Ethan. She slept near him, followed him, even ate only when he did, and the symbols on his body, they kept spreading. No one could explain it. Ethan sat quietly in the medical tent that night, watching her sleep beside the heater. She looked peaceful, almost human. What did she mean by mine? Why him? And what were those visions in his head? One thing was certain. This was no normal discovery. He hadn't just found a hatchery. The hatchery had found him, and it wasn't done yet. Marked by the chosen, the news of Ethan's strange connection to the alien girl spread quickly through the research station. Everyone had questions, but no one had answers. Some called the girl the hatchling, others called her the chosen. But only Ethan called her by the word she whispered again and again, mine. The base commander, Captain Reyes, stood outside the medical tent with Dr. Lee and 2 soldiers. They spoke in low voices, casting nervous glances at Ethan. Through the clear window, inside, Ethan sat quietly while the alien girl watched him, never blinking, her silver eyes reflecting the soft light like 2 tiny moons. "She won't let anyone else touch him," Dr. Lee whispered. "She barely eats or sleeps unless he's close." Captain Reyes frowned. "She's not dangerous, is she?" "Not to him," Dr. Lee replied, "but the symbols on his skin are spreading, and his blood tests are. Strange, he's changing." No one knew what the marks meant. Every morning, new symbols appeared on Ethan's chest and arms, faint and glowing, like they were alive. Some looked like alien letters, some like maps, and some like tiny constellations. Every time a new mark showed up, Ethan felt a strange warmth deep inside him, a feeling of connection. The girl traced the marks with her fingers, humming softly, and every touch sent a spark of energy through Ethan's body. He started dreaming, vivid dreams he could not explain. He dreamed of standing under 3 blue suns, surrounded by thousands of alien faces. He saw the hatchery, live and full of light. He saw himself, but not as he was now. He was taller, stronger, wearing armor made of silver and blue crystal. In the dream, the alien girl stood by his side, and together they led the others. He always woke up with the girl watching him, silent and calm. It felt like she knew his dreams, as if they were her memories too. One afternoon, Ethan sat at the edge of the hatchery cave with the girl. She traced a symbol on the cave wall and looked at him. "Remember?" she asked softly. He shook his head. "No, I don't." The girl closed her eyes and sang a quiet tune, her voice echoing off the crystal walls. He felt the tune inside his chest, matching the rhythm of his own heart. When she finished, she pointed to a large symbol on the wall, a circle surrounded by tiny stars. She touched the same symbol on Ethan's arm, which had appeared overnight. I think this is important," Ethan said to Dr. Lee later. "She's showing me things, but I can't understand them." Dr. Lee studied the symbols, taking pictures and running scans. "Whatever this is, it's not just imprinting," she said. "She's marking you, Ethan, like you're a part of something ancient, something planned." The other hatchlings stayed in a separate chamber, quiet and unsure. They were weak and did not speak. But they watched Ethan and the girl. With wide, curious eyes, none tried to approach him, none except the one who chose him. That night, as Ethan tried to sleep, the girl whispered stories in a language he couldn't fully understand. He caught pieces, words about a protector, a lost cycle, a return when she touched his forehead. Flashes of memory appeared, him fighting beside her, defending the hatchery, and losing everything in a storm of fire and light. The next morning, the research team gathered for a meeting. Captain Reyes demanded answers. Why is this happening to Ethan? What do these marks mean? Are we safe here? No one could answer. Suddenly, a loud crack sounded from the hatchery. The group rushed down the icy tunnel, flashlights bouncing off the crystal walls. Inside, one of the unbonded hatchlings was crying. Her body shaking, she looked at Ethan with wide, desperate eyes. But when she reached out, the chosen girl stepped in front. Blocking her path, the crying hatchling backed away, terrified, as if she sensed something powerful in the bond between Ethan and the chosen girl. Then, without warning, Ethan's marks glowed so bright that the whole cave shimmered. Symbols on the walls began to pulse in time with his heartbeat. For a moment, it felt as if the whole cave was alive, watching them. Dr. Lee's scanner beeped loudly. "It's resonating with him," she gasped. "The entire hatchery is reacting." To Ethan, Captain Reyes stared in shock. "Are you saying this whole place is connected to him now?" Before anyone could answer, the chosen girl took Ethan's hand and pressed it against the wall. Suddenly, a hidden door slid open, revealing an ancient alien device pulsing with light. Everyone froze. Ethan's life would never be the same again. He was marked chosen for something far greater than he could imagine, and whatever was coming next was already awake. The forbidden past Ethan couldn't stop staring at the ancient alien device. It stood in the secret chamber beyond the hatchery-walla pillar of smooth black stone. Humming quietly, covered in the same glowing symbols as those now on his skin. His heart pounded in his chest as the chosen alien girl led him closer. She moved with careful steps, as if she had walked this path before. Her silver eyes never left his, full of hope and a little fear. Dr. Lee and Captain Reyes hung back with the rest of the team. Watching every move, they whispered to each other, their voices tense. "Should we let them touch it?" "We don't have a choice, Lee. He's the only one who can." Ethan reached out, not knowing why. His hand fit perfectly into an open slot on the side of the device. The pillar responded, sending out a wave of light that washed over everyone. Suddenly, Ethan's mind filled with flashes of memories that weren't his, yet felt so real. He saw the planet as it once was: green fields, blue rivers, alien towers rising into a bright sky. He saw thousands of beings like the chosen girl, happy and strong. Humans walked among them, friends, not strangers. There was peace and laughter and music that rang like bells in the wind. But then, the memories shifted. A storm of fire raged across the sky. Ships filled with strange, shadowy creatures descended, bringing chaos and war. Ethan saw himself fighting beside the chosen girl, both of them armored in silver and blue. He watched as the towers fell and the world darkened. He gasped, jerking his hand away. The images vanished, but the feeling stayed: loss, heartbreak, and a deep longing to make things right. The chosen girl placed her hand on his, gentle and steady. Her voice was soft, barely a whisper. "You were here before. Protector, you saved us. Then you left." Ethan shook his head, confused. "How could I? I've never been here." She tilted her head, searching his face. "Not this. You, old you." Dr. Lee stepped forward, trying to stay calm. "Ethan, what did you see?" He explained as best as he could about the peace, the war, and his part in it. The team listened in silence, the truth heavy in the cold air. Captain Reyes spoke at last. "So this isn't just an alien hatchery. It's a place of rebirth. The cycle repeats when the right human returns." No one had any answers, but the chosen girl nodded. She led Ethan to another wall covered in symbols. With her finger, she traced two figures, one shaped like her, one like a human. She pressed Ethan's palm to the wall, and more symbols glowed, telling a story in light. Dr. Lee watched, awestruck. "It's a memory wall. These symbols, they're not just art, they're history." As the girl continued, Ethan's marks started to pulse, matching the glowing lines on the wall. The bond between him and the alien girl grew stronger with every moment. He felt as if some old, invisible chain was pulling them closer to pieces of a puzzle finally connecting again. But not all the hatchlings felt the same. In the back of the chamber, a group of unbonded alien females watched with dark, wary eyes. They whispered among themselves in a tongue no one understood. One of them stepped forward, her face angry. She pointed at Ethan and hissed, "Wrong. Again. Not him. Not the one." The chosen girl stood in front of Ethan, her shoulders squared. She replied in her language, her voice firm and clear. The Challenger backed down, but the threat hung heavy in the air. The cycle, it seemed, is not always accepted, not by all. That night, as Ethan lay awake, the chosen girl sat beside him. She hummed the same ancient tune, her voice carrying sadness and hope. Ethan closed his eyes and tried to remember more. Images of another life flickered through his mind battles. Promises and a hand reaching for his. He woke up suddenly, sweat on his brow. The marks on his arms were brighter than ever. He felt power inside, but also fear. What if he failed again? What if he wasn't the protector they needed? Why did only one alien choose him, and the others reject him so fiercely? The base felt smaller with every passing day. Some scientists wanted to leave, scared of what was happening. Others wanted to stay, desperate to unlock the secrets of the hatchery. But everyone agreed on one thing: Ethan was now the key to everything. And the more he learned, not the more he realized the fate of two species, human and alien, could rest on what he did next. As the first red rays of dawn lit the ice outside, the chosen girl touched his shoulder and whispered, "Cycle begins. Choice is yours." Ethan knew then that the past was not just history. It was a warning and a second chance. Asterisk, the others are waking. The research station on Trelon 4 was never meant to feel like a fortress. But after the events in the hatchery, it slowly began to turn into one. Extra lights were placed around every tent. Guards took shifts, and weapons stayed loaded. No one was sure what would happen next, not the humans, not the aliens, not even Ethan. Inside the medical tent, Ethan watched the chosen alien girl sleep. Her breathing was steady, her face peaceful. She curled up close to him, refusing to let even a blanket separate them. She seemed to draw energy from being near him. Her skin glowed a little brighter every day, and her words grew clearer. Sometimes she called him protector, sometimes mine, but her true name, Jira, slipped from her lips only when she dreamed. Outside, things were changing. More and more eggs were hatching in the cave. The new females crawled out into the world. Blinking and confused, some were frightened, trembling at every noise. Others were curious, looking at the scientists and guards with wide, sharp eyes. But most looked lost, waiting for something they didn't understand. Only a few tried to bond. Most stayed away from the humans, huddling in groups. But every time Ethan entered the cave, the hatchlings grew restless. Their eyes would follow him, their bodies tense, as if hoping he would choose one of them, yet dreading it at the same time. Jira watched them too, always keeping a hand on Ethan's arm. One afternoon, as the team brought food for the aliens, an unbonded female approached a guard. Her movements were hesitant, her eyes flickered with hope. But when the guard reached out a hand, she recoiled. A low hiss came from her throat, a warning. The guard backed away, unsettled. Dr. Lee recorded every moment. "They're searching," she said quietly to Ethan. "But they can't find what Jira found in you. It's not just a bond. It's something older." Later that day, a new group arrived at the station, armed soldiers from the colony outpost. They were nervous, suspicious, and very afraid. Captain Reyes tried to calm them, but the soldiers only wanted answers. Are these aliens a threat? Their leader demanded. Or are they planning to attack? Ethan tried to explain, but they didn't want to listen. One soldier stepped into the hatchery cave, rifle ready. He stared at the hatchlings, his finger tight on the trigger. Jira sensed the tension and moved to stand between Ethan and the soldier. The unbonded females backed away, watching with silent anger. Suddenly, a scream echoed through the cave. One of the new hatchlings lunged at the soldier. She knocked him to the ground, her hands clawing at his armor. Her voice was cold, strange, almost mechanical. "You are not him, you are nothing." The soldier struggled, but the hatchling was strong. Ethan rushed forward, shouting, "Stop! It's not him you want. Leave him." Yera helped pull the hatchling away. The alien girl hissed again. then slumped to the floor, tears streaming down her cheeks. It was clear the other females felt something missing. Something only Ethan could give. Dr. Lee spoke quietly to Ethan that night. "We have to be careful. The others are waking." But not all of them are peaceful. Some are angry, lost, and they don't understand why. "You're the key, Ethan, but you're also the target." That night, Ethan dreamed of the past again. He saw himself surrounded by hundreds of alien females. Some smiled, some wept, and some looked at him with burning anger. A voice whispered in his mind, "Choose wisely, or all will be lost." The next morning, the mood in the camp had changed. The unbonded hatchlings were more restless. They moved in groups, avoiding humans, whispering to each other in sharp, fast words. Jiro watched them. Worry etched on her face. Captain Reyes called an emergency meeting. "We need to contain this. There are too many unknowns. I want a barrier built around the hatchery and guards on every entrance. Until we know more, no one gets in or out without permission." But it was too late, as the humans set up barriers. The unbonded hatchlings began to test the limits. One tried to sneak past the guards, her eyes wild with fear. Another started scratching strange symbols into the walls, symbols that glowed like Ethan's marks. A third stood alone in the snow, staring up at the stars, her lips moving in silent prayer. Ethan felt their pain. He wanted to help. But every time he approached, Jira held him back, not ready. She whispered, "Danger." The division between the bonded and unbonded grew deeper with every passing hour, and all around the camp, the sense of waiting grew, waiting for something big. Something that would decide everything, as darkness fell and the cold wind howled outside. Ethan realized the truth. The others were waking, and their choices would change not only his fate, but the fate of both species. One wrong step could lead to disaster, but one right choice could start a new future. The echo-bonded days on Trellin 4 grew colder as tensions in the camp rose. The air was heavy with fear and questions. Ethan tried to focus, but the growing bond with Jira filled his mind with visions and emotions he could hardly understand. He was changing. Everyone could see it. Even his friends kept their distance, whispering about the symbols glowing on his skin. Sometimes he heard his name carried on the wind, mixed with strange alien words that made no sense. Jira never left his side. She had learned to speak more words now. "Echo," she said one morning, tracing a glowing symbol on his arm. "You and me, same sound." Her voice was soft, as if afraid the others might hear. Ethan smiled weakly. He knew what she meant. Their bond wasn't just a connection, was a resonance, something that reached beyond the body and into the heart. In the hatchery cave, Dr. Lee watched as Ethan touched the alien device again. He felt it pulsing under his hand. This time, when it flashed, it showed not a war, but a ceremony, a gathering of aliens and humans in a ring of glowing stones. A voice in the vision said, "The echo bond must be chosen, never forced, or all will be lost." The memory faded, leaving Ethan shaking back at the tent. Ethan tried to explain what he had seen. He and Jira sat side by side while Dr. Lee listened and took notes. "There's something important about the bond," Ethan said. "It's not just about being chosen. It's about answering like a song, or an echo. If you answer wrong, everything breaks." Jira nodded. She leaned close and placed her palm over Ethan's heart. Her skin glowed, and he felt the energy move between them. The marks on his body shimmered and seemed to answer her touch. He felt stronger, but at the same time, a deep sadness passed through him, memories of loss, of broken cycles, of promises never kept. Outside, the unbonded females grew more restless. Some tried to mimic the ritual by tracing their own arms with glowing mud, but nothing happened. Others watched Ethan and Jira with jealousy. their eyes. Cold a few began to whisper to each other. Forming their own group away from the others, Captain Reyes called a meeting. "We have to decide what to do next." She said, "These aliens aren't all peaceful. The attack on our guard can't happen again, but it's clear that Ethan and this Jura are the center of it all. If this bond is dangerous, we need to understand it fast." Dr. Lee stood up. "It's more complicated than that. The device showed us a memory. The aliens and humans used to bond, but only the right ones. If we force it or interfere, it could destroy everything. We need to help Ethan and Jira complete the bond. It's the only way to calm the hatchlings." The soldiers disagreed. Some wanted to separate Ethan and Jira for safety. Others wanted to destroy the hatchery. Afraid of an alien uprising, arguments grew heated. And Ethan felt the fear in the room, fear of the unknown. Fear of the past repeating itself. That night, Jira and Ethan sat quietly by the heater. She sang her old song, her voice echoing through the tent. Ethan joined in, surprised to find the melody was already inside him. The marks on both of them glowed in time with the music. The energy in the air thickened, wrapping them together like a blanket. Suddenly, Ethan saw another vision. The device in the hatchery was never a weapon, it was a bridge. A way for the aliens and humans to share memories and feelings. But once, long ago, a bond was forced, and it shattered the bridge. Since then, every cycle had ended in tragedy. Ethan gasped and opened his eyes. He looked at Jera, her face full of hope and worry. "We have to finish the bond, but it has to be my choice," he said softly. "If I accept you, truly, with my whole heart, the others might feel it too. Maybe then the cycle will finally heal." Jera's eyes filled with tears. "Promise?" Ethan nodded. "I promise," as the camp slept. Ethan and Jira joined hands and stepped out into the cold night. The stars above were sharp and bright. They walked to the hatchery, where the unbonded females waited in silence. Ethan raised his voice. "This is not about fear or control. It's about trust and choice. I choose Jara. I accept her bond." The air shimmered as the marks on their bodies glowed like tiny stars. A wave of warmth swept through the hatchery, and the unbonded females fell to their knees. Some began to cry. Others sang the old song. For a moment, the camp was filled with a sense of hope that this time, things might finally be different. But in the shadows, a small group of angry hatchlings watched with hard eyes. The bond had been chosen, but not everyone was willing to accept it. A storm was coming. Ethan could feel it in his bones. The blood rebellion Trellanfor's icy dawn brought no peace. A heavy silence hung over the research station. Ethan woke to Jura, clutching his arm, her face worried. She had sensed something in the night shift, a warning. The marks on Ethan's skin were brighter than ever. Glowing beneath his shirt even when the lights were out, he felt their power and weight. And he could not sleep easy anymore outside. The unbonded hatchlings gathered near the edge of the hatchery. Their eyes glinted in the cold blue light. A few sang softly, but others glared at the humans. Their faces tense. A group of 5 stood apart from the rest, whispering together. Jira called them the broken, those whose bond failed to echo. They had grown restless and angry, blaming Ethan and Jira for everything that had changed. Inside the main tent, Captain Reyes argued with Dr. Lee. "We can't stay here," the captain said, her voice shaking. "If these aliens turn hostile, we'll lose control." Dr. Lee stood her ground. "If we leave, the cycle might break again. We must see it through, for both our kinds." Ethan listened. But his mind was with the hatchlings. He could feel their pain and confusion like a storm beneath his skin. Jira squeezed his hand. "They hurt. They are afraid. They want answers. Or revenge," Suddenly, an alarm blared. One of the broken had slashed a guard with her claws. Blood splattered across the snow as the soldier collapsed. The hatchery echoed with a chorus of angry screams. Ethan rushed outside, Jera at his side. The broken stood over the injured man, their leader's eyes hard and cold. Why does he get the bond? She snarled. We waited, we hoped, but you chose wrong. We will not be slaves again. Jera stepped forward, her voice trembling. No slaves, only choice, only echo, the leader spat. Your choice is weakness. Our pain is strength. We. Remember the war you forgot? With a cry. The broken charged toward the hatchery entrance. Guards raised their weapons, but Ethan shouted, No. Don't hurt them. They're lost. Not evil, but the broken didn't stop. They stormed into the hatchery, smashing at the ancient device with rocks and claws. The stones cracked, symbols flickered. Ethan felt the bond inside him strain and twist like a wire about to snap. Stop. Ethan yelled. He pushed through the chaos, Jera right behind him. He placed his glowing hands on the device. Energy pulsed from his marks, flowing into the pillar. The symbols brightened, and a wave of light knocked everyone back. The broken collapsed, howling in pain. Jera knelt beside their leader. She sang the old song, soft, sad, full of longing. Ethan joined her, their voices rising in harmony. Slowly, the broken grew quiet. Their anger drained away, replaced by sorrow. The device glowed brighter. A vision filled the hatchery. A memory of a great battle. Humans and aliens fought side by side. A protector Ethan in another form stood with Jera. Their bond, a shield against the enemy, but when trust broke, the shield shattered. And the world fell to ruin. The vision faded, and silence filled the cave. Ethan felt the eyes of all the hatchlings on him. He looked at the leader of the broken. Help us, not hurt us, he said, his voice gentle. This bond is a choice, not a chain. If you refuse, you are still free. But if you accept, you join us in hope. The broken looked uncertain, their leader shaking. Finally, she bowed her head. We want hope. But we do not want pain again. Ethan nodded. We will make a new beginning, together. No more forced bonds. No more war. Outside, the humans lowered their weapons. Dr. Lee stepped forward. The device can heal, but it needs trust from both sides. Captain Reyes agreed. We came here for discovery, not destruction. If you choose peace, so will we. That night, Jera and Ethan stood before the hatchery. The marks on their bodies formed a complete pattern, a star inside a circle. They placed their hands together on the device. A warm, golden light washed over the hatchery. The eggs shimmered, and the unbonded hatchlings sang the old song. The cycle was healing, but there was still more to do. In the darkness, Ethan heard a whisper. You are the bridge. The cycle turns on you. He looked at Jera. We have one more step, he said softly. She smiled, hope lighting her silver eyes. The last choice, the true bond. Chosen again. A strange calm had settled over the research station as the long night faded into dawn. For the first time since the eggs began hatching, the unbonded females did not whisper threats or weep. They gathered in silence outside the hatchery. Watching the glowing marks on Ethan and Jera, there was a feeling in the air, a deep, waiting hope, but also the heavy shadow of what might happen next. Ethan stood in the center of the ancient chamber, Jera's hand tightly holding his, all around them. The broken and unbroken hatchlings formed a silent circle. Dr. Lee and Captain Reyes watched from the entrance, their faces pale and full of wonder. Even the soldiers stayed quiet, unsure but curious. Ethan could feel the eyes of two worlds on him, human and alien both. His marks shimmered in time with his heartbeat, shining. Even through his clothes, Jera's skin glowed just as bright, a living mirror of his energy. The alien device in the hatchery, damaged but still alive, pulsed with a gentle light. Ethan heard a low hum, like a song that had no words. He closed his eyes, and in his mind, he saw the visions again. The long-ago bond, the war, the shattered hope, and the endless cycle of waiting and loss. This time, the memory ended differently. He saw himself reaching for Jera, not as a hero, but as a friend. He saw a choice one made not by fate, but by will. He understood the cycle was never about force, or even destiny. It was about someone choosing to care, to risk, and to stand beside another. Even if it meant stepping into the unknown. Jera looked up at him, her eyes full of trust. "Ready?" she asked, her voice trembling with hope. Ethan nodded. He squeezed her hand. Feeling the energy flow between them, "We choose together," he said quietly. "No one is alone." Jera led Ethan to the device. She pressed her hand to the ancient stone, and Ethan did the same. Their marks glowed and merged, creating a new symbol that shone brighter than all the rest, a spiral wrapped around a star. The device shuddered and released a pulse of light that swept through the chamber. It touched every hatchling, every human, every egg, for a moment. All pain and anger vanished. Only hope remained. One by one, the unbonded females knelt, bowing their heads to Ethan and Jera. Their leader spoke, her voice no longer sharp but soft with awe. "We see now, the bond is not a prison. It is a choice. We accept." A gentle hum rose in the chamber as the other eggs began to glow. New life stirred inside, each egg pulsing with the echo of Ethan and Jera's bond. Dr. Lee wiped away tears as she watched. "I never thought I'd see this," she whispered to Captain Reyes. "We were witnesses to the start of something new." Ethan felt the energy inside him settled, no longer a storm, but a warm, steady fire. He looked at Jera. Her smile was peaceful and proud. "Cycle complete," she said softly. "New story begins." Captain Reyes stepped forward, lowering her weapon, on behalf of humanity. "I welcome your people," she said to the hatchlings. "We promise to learn, to share, and to respect your choice." The oldest of the unbonded females reached out and touched Ethan's shoulder. She traced the new symbol on his skin. Her own marks glowed in response. The bond was no longer just between two. It was between everyone in the chamber for the first time. Humans and aliens shared a true connection, one built on trust and hope, not fear or force. Outside the hatchery, the first rays of sunrise sparkled on the snow. The cold wind felt gentler now, carrying the old alien song into the sky. Ethan stepped out into the light, Jera beside him. The other hatchlings followed. Blinking in wonder at the world, the humans watched in awe as the aliens explored, touching the snow, laughing, and singing their ancient tune. No one knew what the future held, but everyone felt something new, a sense that the lonely waiting was over, that two worlds had finally chosen each other. Ethan looked up at the sky, his heart full of hope. He was not just a protector, not just a symbol. He was someone who had made a choice, and in doing so, changed everything. Beside him, Jera squeezed his hand and whispered, "Born for you, chosen by you, forever together," as the camp came, alive with new voices, new bonds, and the promise of tomorrow. Ethan realized the truth. This was not the end. It was a new beginning.